warm welcome to another edition of To The Point. This week we are in one of the most beautiful northeastern states, and on the show we have a young dynamic Chief Minister of Meghalaya, Dr. Mukul Sangma. Welcome on To The Point, sir. Dr. Sangma, this is your second tenure as the Chief Minister. Would you really say that you've been able to remove the underdeveloped tag from the state of Meghalaya?
If you're looking at the objective, we set objective for ourselves.
Okay.
And these objectives, in other words, the agendas of the government, are based on the, number one, the potentialities that is around us in our backyard, in the state, which can enable people realize their dreams. And therefore, the first and foremost thing that we set as agenda for ourselves as a government is to look at the aspirations and expectations of the people and design our developmental strategy in that format, which is capable of enabling them to realize their dreams based on the potentialities around us, which is, in respect of our state, the human resources, I believe in our people, particularly the younger generation, and the natural resources.
If I talk specifically about your state, what is the biggest hurdle you would say when you are treading the path of development?
The fact that this region is landlocked, surrounded by so-called, most often referred to as porous international border, Bangladesh on the south, right. Then southeast you have Myanmar, that's also referred to as porous. Then you have the border with China, you have the border with Bhutan, and all these international borders, these borders could have been the borders of various vibrant economic engagement with our counterpart,
right.
And therefore usher into a new era of growth and development.
But which has not happened successfully so
far. These borders are not borders where you have a vibrant trade and commerce. We have not been able to exploit the international border to the advantage, to the economic advantage of the states.
Right.
And therefore, we have an inherent challenge, which is common to the whole northeastern regions.
Okay.
And therefore, the access to the port, which would have enabled us to leverage upon the resources to attract investment, which is key to creating job opportunities,
right.
And create a momentum of growth in the region would have happened.
You rightly said, but when you talk about the job opportunities, I'm going to go one by one on all the indicators which actually behold a state. For example, mining has been the biggest source of revenue, mining and tourism. Tourism I'll come later. First, I'll start talking about mining. Coal and limestone mining has been happening, but there has been a ban by the National Green Tribunal. There's a complete ban on coal mining. From where are you actually getting your resources for the state? Because I went to Jayantia Hills, and that region, the entire region is in shambles.
You see, we have to understand one aspect. What the Honorable NGT has done is has put on hold through this ban temporarily on the activities of mining.
But temporarily means it's like for the last 1.5 years.
Obviously, the contention of the Honorable NGT is that, well, there are concerns about issues concerning to the mining activities which do not conform to the various parameters that a miner has to fulfill in respect of the parameters pertaining to various statutory laws, whether it is in respect of environment or safety. And therefore, there is a need for having a comprehensive mining policy, mining plan, which will be able to address.
But sir, if I could interrupt you had a mining policy.
Wait, I will come to that. You'll have to understand the whole background to understand what is the reason for having allowed so many years these whole activities of mining, which did not come under the scanner of various statutory laws. Now, there is a historical background.
You have customary rights and practices which are in conflict.
Yeah, see, these whole mining activities refer back to pre-independence days,
right.
And minings were allowed because then the scales of mining were considered as small and at cottage industry format.
Right.
And they were basically for catering to the captive requirement of coal in the region, right. Within the state and within the surrounding regions. But over the years, with some amount of industrialization taking place across Northeast, and also the demand coming from beyond Northeastern region for the coal which is available from the mines of our state, the scales of mining has grown. And in
But
the
sir,
process,
if I could interrupt you here, when the scale of mining increased and you started exporting coal to other states and also to countries like Bangladesh, did you ever at some point of time feel the need to regulate the mining in any way? Because there are allegations that there's a lot of pollution, the rivers have become red, the water has become acidic, the air is not clean. So what actually held you back from fighting out pollution?
there again, you'll have to again revisit the past. You are aware that there has been a law passed by the Parliament, the Nationalization of Coal Mines Act 1973, which virtually transferred the overall ownership of the coal mines to Government of India. It is not even with the state government. The only catch-22 here was that immediately after this act was passed, since mining activities were already going on for years together, and then that Nationalization of Coal Mines Act comes on the way about the rights to mine over the mines which were actually perceived to have been owned by our people, because the whole ownership of the land is with the people. The government doesn't own the land in the state.
But sir, in this
It's covered
particular
under
situation,
civil
what you're
areas.
describing,
Yes.
and you know the historical background and you know the landholding pattern of the people in Meghalaya, especially in the regions where mining is happening. With this typical landholding system, do you think that scientific mining is really possible? Because I was speaking
It is possible. It is possible. There are solutions
but the coal
to
miners, the coal miners whom I met in Jaintia Hills and the various regions, they said that scientific mining is not possible.
It is a wrong perception infused in the minds of these miners.
Okay.
And people have definitely taken advantage to misinform these people, because many a time such kind of legal intervention
Okay.
are also to a great extent exploited for politicization, for political mileage. Now, that's why the government has been, on a number of occasions, saying that now that the state government has already come up and notified the mines Development Regulation Policy 2012, it's time for all the miners to come together and see how we can actually allow this mining policy to operationalize in such a way so that while our people are still allowed to continue their rights to have mining activities in respect of coal.
But this mining policy which you're talking about, are you still eliciting consensus on this? Because it has still not been implemented.
You see, why it has not been implemented? It has not been implemented because in the first instance, now, if you are to apply for statutory clearances, you will have to prove your ownership. Now, Nationalization of Coal Mines Act 1973 comes on the way. That means you are no longer the owner of the coal mines. Therefore, what the state government has done, that with this Nationalization of Coal Mines Act 1973, having taken away the whole rights of the people in respect of the coal reserves, the coal mines, that means nobody is the owner of coal mine anymore.
Okay.
But I'm talking about 1973 Act, but the minings continued. Government of India allowed its export. It was because when the state government took up the issue with Government of India, that after this law has been enacted, what next? Will you enforce this provision of Nationalization of Coal Mines Act 1973, taking away the rights of our people who have so long enjoyed the customary rights and practices to mine over their land?
Right. But from what you're saying, it looks like a very complicated situation.
It is
with
complicated.
Multiplicity of laws.
Multiplicity, and you will not understand because you haven't got what I'm going to tell.
No, exactly.
Now, nationalization. No.
I get what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that multiplicity of laws, then conflict of the customary rights. So all that is making the situation complicated.
No, therefore, I'm going to come.
But what I want to ask you...
There is no complicacy. It's a question of political will, which is pending with Government of India.
But what about the state political will?
I'm going to tell you. The state political will is that since Nationalization of Coal Mines Act 1973 have come on the way to determine the ownership of coal reserves, how will you apply in the first instance to Ministry of Environment? Who has given you the right? That's the question which will be asked.
Right.
Therefore, invoke the provision of Para 12AB of the 6th Schedule of the Constitution, which is specific to Meghalaya, which says that any law passed by the Parliament can be through can be rescinded through presidential notification in respect of its operation in any part of the scheduled areas of the state of Meghalaya. I have taken up this issue with Government of India that since this particular act has come on the way, and since the rights of the people have not been stopped for so many years, now it will be very difficult to stop it. So, therefore, exempt the operational.
So basically you're saying that the ball is in the hands of the centre.
Yes.
The ball is in the court of the centre.
Yes.
Right? So centre definitely is talking about a relook at the 6th schedule, and now when they'll do it, it's not very clear.
No, they don't have to relook. It's already there.
It's okay, but sir, amidst all these complications, what happens to the people who've lost their jobs? There are thousands and thousands of people who cannot afford two meals a day.
Yeah, therefore, where is the responsibility? The responsibility has to be collectively shouldered by the state government and the union government.
Okay.
Now, as far as the state government is concerned, we have done our due diligence, we have explored all the options available, and we have told Government of India, look, once this is clear, then we are in a position to implement the mining policy 2012.
But sir, how long will you wait? Supposing if the centre doesn't act, then you have your own people, thousands and thousands of people who are waiting in abeyance. They don't know because they are saying that the state leaders don't come and meet us.
I cannot supersede the parliament.
Okay.
State legislature cannot supersede through any legislative measures.
Okay.
The law passed by parliament prevails.
So basically we'll have to wait and watch as to what the centre does. But now I'm going to ask you on uranium mining. There are a lot of rumours that, obviously the pre-project exploration has been on for almost more than a decade. And uranium was being, researched for. What is actually happening on uranium mining? What is your stand? Are you ready for uranium mining?
I have told the then Prime Minister,
right,
Dr. Manmohan Singh ji, that as of now, there is no need to push through and bulldoze the issue of uranium mining as of now.
Right.
There will be an appropriate time when the government can take a call.
Okay.
But I think there are enough reasons to, basically take cognizance of what I have said.
But why are some of the activists saying that, the state government is being very discreet, they are being very secretive, and there's some mining or the other which is happening?
Do they mean to say that we will say that, okay, we are quietly mining or we want to quietly mine? I think this government has been very, very candid.
Okay.
And ever since I have took charge of this responsibility, of this privilege of leading the state, I have made it abundantly clear that, look, as far as the mining of uranium is concerned, there is a need for the government to wait for such conducive time when it will be perceived as appropriate.
You would agree only when you have taken the consensus of the tribals, and then only you will go ahead with that.
That is exactly the spirit of democracy.
Okay. So on that point, let me take a break. On the other side, we talk to Mukul Sangma on other development indicators of Meghalaya. Back in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching To The Point with Chief Minister of Meghalaya, Dr. Mukul Sangma. Mr. Sangma, let me begin now by asking you about things like education. Shillong, for example, was supposed to be an education hub, and in just about 10-15 years, things have gone awry. What are you basically doing, or rather, what schemes have you launched to really promote education? Because the schools are in a very bad shape, teachers are not trained. All these things are there in the media reports as what is being reported about Meghalaya.
I will tell you, let me be blunt.
Right.
You roll out such uniform programs and you start implementing, that is the reason for the mess that you are seeing all across the country. It's not only in Meghalaya, it's all across the country. Mm-hmm. How many students are capable of actually competing? Why you are seeing in Bihar being captured by media that there are so many attempts to, copy and pass? Why are these? This is precisely because there is something wrong.
Your government has set in motion a word called provincialization of education, where government will be funding and managing everything. Do you think that will resolve the issues?
See, there is a problem. That's why I'm saying
education?
The fund which is made available through various programs need to be passed on to the state government, so that state government will dovetail its own program based on the challenges.
So which, according to you, has not been happening so far?
It has not been happening. That is the issue that the state governments have been taking up with successive union governments.
So who is at fault?
Bankruptcy of knowledge about the diverse country and the problem of the complexity of the problem of the country is a problem with our system.
But sir, what about things like, the education scam has also been reported from your state, where there has been a political interference, there has been a bureaucratic interference in the appointment of the teachers. So That is very much
You see,
similar again.
those kind of
to what is
allegations
happening in
are
states like
always there
Haryana.
all
You have
across the country. But as far as
recruitment
the government is concerned, government is seized with all kinds of recruitment system. Today, state government of Meghalaya has one of the most transparent system of recruitment system. If there was something wrong in the past, it is the responsibility of the government to correct. To ensure that a policy, if it is not tamper-proof, make it tamper-proof.
So the crux of the matter is that you need additional funds from the center and you need to customize the programs according to Meghalaya.
Yes, and also have systems adopted which are transparent, which are effective to implement.
Have you met Mr. Narendra Modi since the time he's become the... you must have gone for the Niti Aayog meetings also. Have you mentioned this problem to him?
We have met. We have flagged collectively as chief ministers. We have flagged issues collectively as
How
the chief
serious
ministers.
was he in solving
as chief
the
ministers
issue
of
of
Northeast, I flagged the issues personally also when I had the privilege of meeting him one-to-one. Post recommendation of 14th Finance Commission, what has happened? There is a recommendation from Finance Commission based on the actual demands of the states. This has been one of the demands of all the states over the years, that the transfer of resources, the direct untied transfer of resources to the states at 32% must be increased. There is a direct transfer as transfer of resources. Another one is indirect transfer through schemes like your NRHM, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, and many other schemes which are sometimes not implementable.
What I want to understand from you is that where is the actual problem? If the center is not trying to, understand, or the leaders from the Northeast are not able to explain, there is some communication gap somewhere, or there is no political will on either side?
See, there is one thing. There can be two things. One is that either you understand and not act, or another thing is that you actually are not understanding, therefore you are actually depending on however you are fed. Now, what is Finance Commission?
So you're hinting at a deliberate scuttling of
yes.
the initiatives.
So what I'm saying is that now you look at this particular situation. Now 32% transfer of resources have been increased to 42%. Okay,
Right.
That's a 10% jump. It's a substantial amount. But that increase is for all the states of the country. There is nothing specific, for Northeast.
That when you talk about the lack of funds, now again, for example, talking about tourism. Tourism, what are the initiatives which the state government is taking? Now, I'm going to give you examples of what I have seen in my last 4 to 5 days of trip. Now, if you go to Jayantia Hills, you would not find a single good restaurant, clean restaurant.
Yeah.
Then you would not find very good guest houses. Then you would not find good roads. I was on way to the Aizawl highway where there are 2-3 bridges which are in a dilapidated situation, and anytime the bridge might crumble.
Your roads don't last here. You have heavy downpour. You have been here for quite some time. And when the rest of the country is still struggling with the heat, this part of the country is already receiving heaviest of rainfalls. People have established restaurants, they've closed it down because it was more like putting the cart before the horse. When tourist inflow is not there, who is going to invest? And then ultimately burn their fingers.
Somewhere the public relation exercise of the state government is not going well with the tour operators.
It's not the tour operators. It's the advisory which is coming from various, your embassies. Embassies give the advisory based on the perception created.
But when it comes
who
to
knows
perception,
about Northeast?
When it comes
who knows
to
about Northeast? Tell me, who knows about Northeast? Many good things are happening. But if today, because this country is too big probably for even the media houses, when there is a massive flood and lots of calamity, is there any other positive stories
even
that
media has underreported Northeast in a very big way. But another very important aspect which I wanted to really ask you was the militancy, the rise of insurgency, especially in your area, the 5 districts you mentioned during your Independence Day speech also, that 5 districts are very sensitive. What do you think is the biggest reason why militancy is on the surge? Why are youths taking to militancy?
Access to sophisticated arms, which is smuggled through this so-called, too frequently referred, porous international border, is the reason.
Porous international border, of course, is a universal problem along the northeastern states. But what I'm saying is that if there are opportunities of employment, then probably that's where you can deter the youths.
No, then you are
and
not
you can guide them
lack of
towards...
opportunities is one part.
That's an important part, but
is one part. Yes, important part. But I will tell you one thing. It is not that the people who have joined militancy and are the leaders of these insurgent outfits are all unemployed people. They have deserted government jobs to join militancy because they have easy access to arm, and that becomes a very attractive option to make money.
but there are also allegations of how politicians are also involved with the militants.
Yes.
During last year's elections, P.A. Sangma had mentioned this. Do you agree that anything of this sort is happening in your government?
As far as P.A. Sangma is concerned, he has even alleged that I am the chairman of number of blah, blah, blah. It is already in the court. Okay, I filed a defamation case against him. Irresponsible statement designed to defame a chief minister. Which chief minister of any country can actually have nexus with any militant
But you
organization?
yourself are saying, sir, that I'm not talking about your case at all. But what I'm saying is that in general,
No, you
there
refer
is a
to
trend.
P.A. Sangma. P.A. Sangma has not alleged anybody except trying to, point a finger at me.
But what I'm trying to ask you is that supposing if there is a general pattern where arms are easily accessible to the youths, then obviously there is a perception that there are politicians who are really encouraging this to happen.
Politicians also, whoever are, directly or indirectly involved, who are under scanner. There are a number of cases already.
Okay.
Here.
And you have already taken action against them?
Number of cases, law has its long hand. Law should be enforced in a manner so that law itself becomes deterrent. Okay. When law is found to be, not enforced effectively, then people will have no fear for law.
Do you think militancy is also on the rise because of a lot of influx of the outsiders?
If you have an international border, which officially MHA has on number of occasions in the national level meeting chaired by Prime Minister have referred to as porous international border, why should an international border be porous? Is it not the responsibility of Government of India to ensure that it's not porous?
Right. So you're hinting at the fact that the border security force is not doing its job properly, right?
It is not just the border security force. It's a question of understanding the complexity of the problem.
Okay.
The problem is to understand also from geopolitical perspective.
Right.
It's not that if you are not having enough forces in the border, how will BSF? Okay. You have to have an analysis, auditing of the actual number of posts where BSF are there.
I want to ask you on another serious issue which we've heard of quite often in Meghalaya, and that is of the inner line permit. The influx problem of the outsiders. Are you ready for an inner line permit? Which of course in the past you have said no, but are you going to really change your mind on this? 2013,
there was a very, I should say, long drawn agitational program which ultimately became very violent, very unpleasant. Lots of precious lives have been lost. But we have made it abundantly clear. We understand what is best for the people and what is best for the state, futuristically. Therefore, ILP, an outdated law, based on outdated law, that 1873 Eastern Frontiers Regulation, which was an act adopted by the then
But you
British
have other
colony
states
rule.
like Mizoram and Arunachal, which are already having these kind of permits.
You have to go by statistics. After ILP has been enforced, Arunachal Pradesh, the number of non-tribal community which are not indigenous have increased.
The number has risen.
Increased. Okay. So also in Nagaland, where ILP is enforced, has increased. But in Meghalaya, it is just the reverse. Okay. So it is an effective mechanism.
I think Manipur has also today passed.
I have told my friend, Mr. Ibobi Singh, follow what I am doing. What is important? All the countries, advanced countries, are still grappling around to fight against the issue of illegal immigration. The countries like UK is still talking about how to, fight against illegal immigration, because it's not the problem of entering; it's the question of how you regulate when they come in. Therefore, I say that you have such a long border with Assam. Where will you have this ILP? Right. So, idea is that do you have laws to protect the land, so that the land alienation doesn't exist?
So are you hinting at the fact...
We already have a law.
Mr. Sangma, are you hinting at the fact that your indigenous people, they are not facing any kind of demographic threat at the moment?
We have all the systems in place. We are reinforcing them with some other more comprehensive mechanism, which has been discussed, deliberated, and through proper engagement with all the stakeholders are already being put into place.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sangma. It was a pleasure talking to you. That's it on this episode of To The Point. See you next time with another personality. Goodbye and thanks for watching.